All right. Good morning, everyone. Okay, now we're live on YouTube as well. Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also a chiropractic physician at Gatesway to Health. Today I'm talking about multiple sclerosis and gut bacteria. And Kathy won't be with us this morning, so I'll be manning this ship myself, and I'll probably be going directly to the point. So I get this question a lot about doing a video. Good morning to everybody that's joining on multiple sclerosis and what functional treatments are available. Many of you who know some of MS, or if you're researching it, you've heard about the Walls protocol. Terry Walls is a medical doctor who came down with MS and went basically on an autoimmune paleo ketogenic diet and had phenomenal results. Which begs the question, well, how could that happen? And it really stems from how the foods that we eat dramatically impact our gut microbiome, the 37 trillion bacteria we have in our intestines. And these bacteria create what I refer to as bacterial poop, and the bacterial poop then can go into your bloodstream and have effects on your brain chemistry and your immune system, and that's referred to as metabolomics. So a lot of individuals, of course, with MS are looking at other things they can do aside from medications that may help their disease trajectory. And everyone, let me say it this way, MS has many different forms it can present as if you know, you can have the relapsing remitting, you can have secondary progressive, you can have chronic progressive. There's more of a spinal cord variant that can hit later in life that tends to move quicker and faster. And so just know, for those of you who know someone with MS, there's many different manifestations of the disease. And it may be several different diseases under one umbrella. Some authors have proposed that. Needless to say, information regarding connections between our immune system and the gut and diseases like MS is ever expanding. And in 2014, an article came out in the journal Plios where they basically took autoreactive T cells from a mouse. So you can induce MS in a mouse. It's called experimental autoimmune encephalitis. And they took these immune cells from these mice that had mouse MS, and they injected them into healthy mice. And what they saw is that in the first 7 days, the gut barrier broke down and they developed quote unquote leaky gut. Within 14 days, their blood-brain barrier broke down and they developed quote unquote leaky brain. So that's really, really interesting. And that kind of set the stage for a lot of researchers to think, well, how much of an impact does the gut have in multiple sclerosis? So since that time, a lot of studies have been done on the bacteria of MS patients, the bacteria of mice with MS, looking for differences. It's now been validated that in the mouse model, chronic progressive MS and relapsing remitting MS have different microbial signatures in the gut. Kind of interesting. It's now been validated that MS individuals have increased translocation of bacteria through the intestinal lining. So that's new, really, in the last year. And they're even finding they can modify, let me see if I can remember the name of it. I believe it's molecular addressin cell adhesion molecule 1. That's the name of it. And they can modify this molecule. And this molecule is really important because it's how the immune cells can actually bind to the gastrointestinal tract. Think of like your intestines as the International Space Station. And you have this immune cell going to dock with your intestines. And in doing so, it needs something to bind to. And that is what this molecular addressin cell adhesion molecule or something of that effect. I'm butchering it. I may actually be able to pull it up here so it's not as bad. Hang with me, guys. Yeah. Yeah, it's called MADCAM1 for anybody who's wanting to look it up. Mucosal addressin cell adhesion molecule. That's it. Mucosal addressin adhesion molecule. So needless to say, if they take a mouse and they actually remove that mouse's MADCAM molecule, so they can actually get them genetically not to produce it, then they find that the mouse who has MS, basically their MS is not nearly as bad, which raises a question, well, if you can affect how the immune system is interacting with the intestines, is that going to have an effect on the disease course of multiple sclerosis? And they even see there's something called myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein antibodies. They see that those change when you change this MAdCAM molecule. So all of this to say, having done a literature review approximately 2 years ago and then 3 years ago on multiple sclerosis as it relates to functional treatments, there was information then. Going through it last night, the information is exploding. It's actually really exciting for what this means potentially for MS patients. Now, I say all this with the caveat. There are many different forms of MS, and MS can have the relapsing remitting variety. Some patients are diagnosed with MS and they seemingly have very few problems ever in their life, whereas other people, have a pretty significant neurological decline through the years, and it can really be the definition of disabling. So there are individuals out there with MS who are going to, they're going to be looking at functional treatments and think, okay, well, maybe this is the cure, and maybe this will help. I'm not saying this is the cure. For some of you who have MS, and maybe it's early in the course, this may be something that's really important for you, and it may actually be something that helps you with your overall management strategy for your disease. So I just want to put that out there because I think it's good for us to all have realistic expectations. I'm not saying anything is impossible, but I'm also trying to say, in my experience, if someone walks in with relapsing remitting MS and few neurological problems, it's different than someone who's coming in a wheelchair. So that's the data. If any of you want the articles, I'll be happy to send them to you. There's more information about MS and Epstein-Barr virus, and there's a lot of information on Akkermansia bacteria and the guts of MS patients. Actually, one other interesting thing, they did a study where they were looking at MS patients, and they looked at their gut bacteria, and they found that MS patients taking Copaxone, which is a common MS medication, their profiles of a gut bacteria called Prevotella histolytica increased significantly. And before taking Copaxone, that gut bacteria was actually very low. And researchers then said, well, what if we take the animal model of MS and we supplement them with Prevotella histolytica? And they actually found that the inflammatory markers for these mice with MS improved to the same degree as they did if they were taking the drug. So now that's in mice. I can't say that's in human, but that's super, super interesting. Very interesting that they basically used a probiotic and it had the same effect. Also keep in mind, it seems that there's greater potential to modulate the immune system through the gut for mice than it is with humans. So I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to say, okay, we need to be cautiously looking at this, but there is significant potential there too. I say that because they've done studies like with rheumatoid arthritis in mice. They can do RA in a mouse, and then they'll feed that mouse cartilage from other mice, and their RA will go away. That's actually been done with experimental autoimmune encephalitis, this mouse model of MS, where they can feed these mice brain tissue and their MS symptoms can go away. Those studies haven't panned out in humans because the regulatory system of our immune system in our gut as a human being seems to be more complicated than mice. But still, there are overlaps between mammalian physiology. A mouse is a mammal, we're a mammal. There is overlap. And then we have one question every day. Yeah, awesome. Well, we're getting feedback, so if there's more information all of you want on MS, if you want me to keep going into this, we can talk about it again next week. I can keep delving into this farther, as well as with Epstein-Barr virus connections to MS. All those details. So if you want us to talk about something, just send us a message and we'll go from there. So I think that's pretty much the story. I've recorded this on YouTube. We're live streaming. So for any of you that are just coming on, as we're talking about MS and gut bacteria. Go ahead and find it on YouTube, or you can replay it on Facebook. And I think that pretty well summarizes it. So again, one more time in summary, 2014, it came out that autoreactive T cells from mice who have MS in 7 days will break down the gut of a healthy mouse, and in 14 days will break down the blood-brain barrier. There seems to be a definite connection between the immunology of MS and the gastrointestinal tract. Research has now validated that the microbes of relapsing remitting MS patients are different from the microbes in the gut of chronic progressive MS. They've also validated that bacterial translocation is increased in the intestines of MS patients and MS mice. And they found that supplementation with a probiotic, Prevotella histolytica, in the mouse model of MS produced changes equivalent to medications in terms of inflammatory signatures in the mouse model of MS. So that's really, really big stuff. And if researchers take away the binding protein in the intestines for immune cells, then the MS process dramatically decreases in the mouse model of MS as well. And I always say mouse model because I don't want to, again, I'm trying not to confuse things. So lots of times we examine mice first because it's kind of like the exploration into will this work, and then they followed up on humans. But that's where we're at now. And I hope this is helpful. Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also chiropractic physician at Gateswood Health. Like our Facebook, share our YouTube, whatever, share all that stuff you're supposed to say at the end of these videos. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good weekend.